Hi everybody, it's Sarah Cray with Let's Make Art, and we like to watercolor. We do a new project every week, and sometimes we just do extra ones for fun. That's what's going on right now.
It's like a gift.
It is a gift for you and for us, really. So today we are doing our haunted house. Oh, I was hoping you'd make a spooky noise. Oh, yeah. Try that. Yes! Good job, Keenan. Okay, so for this project, we are using 4 colors. So our first color is black. Our second color is violet. Our third color is crimson. And our fourth color is daffodil yellow.
I'm excited about the crimson color.
It's a good color.
That's great.
And these are Dr. P.H. Martin brand. So if you have the Dandelion Paint Company, the Paintco. Sorry, forgot the name of our brand of paint. It's fine. The equivalents are going to be black, violet, red rose, and dandelion yellow. But you can paint with any colors you have. Essentially, you're looking for black, purple, red, and yellow. We are going to do this project in 5 steps. So our very first step is we are going to be doing the sky, the color transition here. So that's step 1. Step 2, we're going to paint the black house and hill. Step 3, we are going to do the trees, the gates, just basically finishing off this silhouette. Step 4, we're going to do the moon. And the very last step, we're going to put in these little bats and the lights on the house. So 5 steps. The other thing that I would like to bring to your attention is this is a bonus kit. So if you have the subscription, it's not included. It's just a fun tutorial. It's just extra. And I like being able to do bonus kits because then I can just do whatever random colors I want. You know what I mean? Like these colors aren't in your October subscription. That's okay. You can use whatever you have. Or you can just get the kit for 15 bucks and it'll come with all the paint and stuff.
I always struggle myself with trying to choose different colors than what the example shows. But yeah, I can see how it would be appealing if you're creative.
Yeah, we try to make it easy for you. And then the other fun thing about this project is we're using a different brush. I added a brush onto this one. So we're using a wash 3/4 inch brush for the sky. Because when you're doing large areas that you want kind of an even wash, you're going to want either flats or wash brushes, which is like they're square like this. And then of course we have our round 6 and our round 2. So those little fellas are there as well. If you don't have this brush, don't stress. You can still do it with the round 6. The sky is just going to take you a little bit longer, and you might have a little bit more blooms in it than if you were using a wash brush, but it's not the end of the world. Okay? All right, I think we should get started. So if you look at the colors here for our step 1, we have a color transition, and I want you guys to transition from like a black purple, so I'm going to be mixing my black with my purple, with my violet. So it's going to be black, violet, violet, and then the violet you mix with the red to get kind of this pinkish purple here. And then you're going to do straight crimson, and then you're going to mix the crimson and the yellow to get orange, and then you're going to do straight yellow. So that is the color transition we're going for. So I'm going to start off by mixing black with violet. We'll look at that pretty dark purple. And you want to work fairly quickly when you're doing color transitions with Canson paper. If you have arches or a heavier cotton paper, I'm not super familiar with Strathmore, so I can't say Strathmore, but like bee paper, Stonehenge paper, which is also really great paper. It's way easier to do color transitions. Canson, it's a little bit difficult because Canson paper likes to bloom a little bit. I personally like that. You might not. So I'm just saying, if you're super frustrated with all the blooms that you're getting, it could be the Canson paper. You might want to try a different paper.
The blooms are my favorite part.
Blooms are my favorite part too, but I know that if I do want an even wash without blooms, I just have to work quickly. That's pretty much it. So as long as you know that, and that's why, like, I know that there are some watercolorists who are like purists, and like, paper is everything. And they're not wrong, but I just think that there are benefits to all the different kinds of paper, and you shouldn't like totally disregard a paper just because it's like cheap. Like if you know how to use it, then it can work totally great, which is why I use it.
They all have their different purposes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's my little spiel.
Not a spiel.
Thank you. Okay, now we're gonna start. So I have my black mixed with my purple, and I'm just gonna use my wash to start on the top. And if you gotta do a couple of layers to get it nice and dark, and then you're just gonna start to work your way down. And now is about the time I'm just gonna grab pure violet, and you want that to overlap a little bit.
I'm getting anxious watching you paint near the moon.
Oh my gosh, it is so hard to avoid the moon during this, so please.
I believe that.
If you actually have like a cutout, like a sticker or something that you can just put over the moon so you can just continue going, even masking fluid, that would work great. I just worked around the moon and it is hard to do, so just bear with us. But we can do it. We can do hard things, you guys.
My heart is racing.
Okay, so now that I'm getting close to the moon, I'm still using violet, and then I kind of just use the edge of the brush to surround it, and then just keep going. And you want to work it kind of back and forth across, try and get a smoother line. So I'm still in the purple stages. Now when you get to the house, you can paint over the house, just not the windows, because it's black. So we're gonna, as long as you can still see. Sorry, I just noticed some blooms, so I'm going and working them back. Oh, that was so dumb. Don't do what I just did. Okay, what I just did is I worked all the way back into my black violet, and I didn't rinse my brush, and then I went back down here. So now I have this dark purple. It's not the end of the world. I can lighten it up, but this is a good lesson with color transitions, which is when you work your way back up, you need to rinse your brush before you just go straight back to where you left off, okay? Okay, and then now is about the time I'm gonna grab purple and mix it with my crimson. So I'm gonna work that back up into the purple. Just kind of work around the edge. If your moon gets a little bit wonky, that's okay. As you can see, mine did in the example. It's not the end of the world. Sometimes moons aren't perfectly round. It depends on where they are in their cycle. Okay. Yeah. And you can always change the shape of your moon a little bit if you got to round it back out. Okay. And then now I'm going to want to grab more red, just crimson now. And then you want to overlap. So I'm going to avoid that window. Okay. And now I'm going to want to start using orange. Maybe I'll do one more swipe of just pure red here. Grab orange, overlap with the red. You can also go into the trees because again, these silhouettes are black. So once they dry, we can just paint over them. Okay. Orange, and then now you want to rinse your brush and do just yellow. And again, you can go across your lines, your outlines. The only thing you have to be wary of is the moon and the windows on the house. Everything else is black, so it doesn't really matter. And then you'll see, since my brush is like hitting off the side, it's kind of gathering paint on the edge, you can just lift that off and then blend it out like that. So just try and start smoothing things out. There might be actually a touch of orange right here in this corner. What you're going to be really tempted to do is just like work your way around the moon, but you just have to be careful about your color transitions as you do that. And my moon got super wonky, but that's okay. I'm just going to go in and just round it out. You just have to remember that your color transitions that are going on, they're independent of the moon. As in, if the moon wasn't there, the color transitions would still be happening. So you have to paint the sky as if the moon is not there. And that's why you don't like, it's the same thing when you're painting like mountains or trees against a sunset. You don't want to outline them in different colors because the sky is independent from the landscape. I'm just going to try and round out my wonky moon.
This doesn't have to be Earth's moon.
Yeah, it could be so many things.
Yeah.
So whenever I'm going in and like rounding things out on my moon, I'm trying to match the color with the transition that's around it. Again, if you have a way to like block off this area before you do it, that is what I suggest. Okay, I just want to show people as this is drying, you're going to see blooms, especially where you go back in and like, so blooms happen when the water dries at different time and when you disperse the water unevenly. So whenever you go back and make changes when something is wet, there's going to be a bloom there. So you can see when I went in around my moon, it created a bloom, and what you can do with just a damp brush is just try and soften those out. You don't want your brush to be too wet though, because then you're just creating another bloom. So it just has to be like very lightly wet, and you try and work all around it to avoid making just more blooms. And same thing on this side. Just try and brush them out. And if you got to make any, I just feel like this needs to be a little bit more orange down here. Okay. Okay, I think we're ready to move on to step 2. Now the biggest thing you got to make sure of is this black hill and house that we're putting down. You want to make sure that your paint is completely dry around those areas. If this is still wet and I put black in here, that line is going to bleed out and you're not going to get a straight line. So if you have to wait a few minutes to let it dry, wait a few minutes to let it dry. Mine is still wet, but only here at the top, so I can work at the bottom. Wait, look at my paper towel. Isn't that cool?
Looks terrifying.
Okay, so what I like to do for the wash, for the black wash, is this like big part here. I'm still gonna use my wash brush because it's a big part, and then when I go in to do like the actual shapes, I'm gonna move to my rounds. So just using black.
These colors make it very satisfying to watch this painting.
Does it?
Yes.
Good. I know, I feel like Halloween you really can go crazy with like orange and purple and yellow, you know, like.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm gonna switch to my round 6 and do the rest of the house. Just avoiding the windows. Now, if your house is crooked, you're doing it right because the house is crooked on the reference photo. And also, it's like a crumbly, haunted house that is all wonky shaped, so. And don't be afraid to make this your own. You can change the silhouette of your house. You can add things to it if you want to add more windows, whatever you want. This is your painting. So if you want to do something else, you have every single right to do that. And up here, I painted over my house, but that's okay. I'm just going over it in black. As long as you can still see your pencil lines, it's not a big deal. If you can't see your pencil lines, just eyeball it.
It's a crooked house anyway.
It's a crooked house.
A creepy crooked house. I feel like all creepy houses are broken somewhere. Why not the very top?
Yeah, totally. Okay, so I did my house now. This has like porch railings and stuff. If you want to switch to your round 2 for these thin lines, go for it. I feel comfortable using my round 6 because that's the beautiful thing with rounds. You can get nice points with them, even the larger brushes. So I'm just going to do light pressure, vertical hold, and just putting these little railings in. And there's like a little railing at the top here. It's not actually a railing, it's like one of those decorative little detail. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You
I
guys,
was going to say widow's peak because that's a term.
I don't think that's the correct term.
I think the widow's peak is on the very top of the house.
Yeah. Also on the top of people's head. Their hairline.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Okay. Congratulations. Step 2 is complete. Now we're just going to keep going on with our silhouette, doing the tree and the gate here. So keep going, my friends. These are like tombstones, like a graveyard. I didn't need to say that. Unnecessary.
I didn't think of this until now, and I don't know if I should say it out loud, but I'm going to.
Yeah.
I never thought of, when I think of a spooky picture like this, I picture a gravestone, like that's totally appropriate. But how sad is it that there's a gravesite right next to a house
Totally
in any
sad.
spooky scenario I think of?
Yeah.
Someone's family.
Yeah. Someone's family is buried right there.
Yeah, it's really sad.
It is sad.
Out of nowhere, I'm so sorry.
Okay, at this point I'm actually going to switch my round 2 since I'm going into my tree branch territory and my thin gate line territory. And again, your gate can be wonky. And I did little like arrow shapes on the top of the gates, but you can do little balls. Maybe you don't like gates. You don't have to do a gate.
I think you mean fence.
Yes, that is what I mean. Oh, it's fine. It's fine. I know the names of things. I think you mean fence. Okay, branches. The biggest thing with branches is that they just thin out the more out you go. Does that make sense? So they get thinner on the edges.
They get thin, the out you go.
They get thinner the longer it goes.
Yeah.
They thin out.
Thin out.
And this is one of those like gnarled trees, so it's kind of lumpy. I went a little bit crazy here with my branches.
It probably needs to be milled.
Probably. Your brother does that, doesn't he?
He does. He did recently purchase a small mill, yes. And he won't stop talking about it.
Now, I'm not going to go super into my moon here because I'm actually going to get that all wet when I paint the moon. So I'm just going to do a little bit of tree branch, knowing that I'll go back in there after the moon dries and do detail. I kind of lost my tree line, so I'm just making it up now as I go. It's fine. Can't tell what's going on, but that's okay because all trees are different, and I'm sure there's a tree that looks like this somewhere, so it's fine.
Yeah, this one looks cool.
Make sure your branches overlap with other branches. Okay. Sweet. Now let's move on to the moon. So we're going to keep most of the moon white, but moons have crevices and craters and, you know, form. They're three-dimensional, so we have to put those shadows in. So what I usually do is I just grab some black and a little bit of water. If your water is super dirty, you might want to clean it so it doesn't turn your moon like pink or purple or whatever. And I'm just going to, on the left side, just start putting a shadow in. And then use water to spread it out because there's going to be lots of values. You can see I'm running into my tree here, but that's okay. This light gray is going to keep kind of continuing along the edge. I'm going to leave the right upper pretty much just highlighted. And then while this is still wet, I'm going to take black and just drop in black on some of this just randomly. Blend them out. You can let them just like bleed and sit there, or you can blend them out a little bit. I softened mine a little bit since they weren't moving. So if yours aren't moving, you can make a move. If yours moves a ton, then you're good. Okay, there's our moon. Step 4 done. We're on our very last step. And our very last step is doing the lights on the house and the little bats. I'm going to move to my lights. Make sure that your black house is dry. Grab just yellow, or you can do whatever color you want. If you want it to like match the sky as if the windows are on both sides of the house and it goes through, then you would want to follow your color transition. I'm going to put lights on though as if it's just yellow lights on in the house. They can have like an orange yellow glow about them.
Like it's on fire.
Yeah. Maybe it is. Ooh. Okay. I don't want to do the details yet because the yellow is still wet. We want that to dry. So we'll do the bats. And you can do the bats anywhere. You can do any kind of silhouette. Maybe you don't like bats, but you can do like a witch flying across the room. Maybe there's something in the window. Maybe, I don't know. You guys are more creative than I am. You can come up with something fun. So
what
little.
if the silhouette on the moon, or the moon, the moon spots, was a skull?
Ooh.
That'd be kind of creepy. Just like a real faint skull.
That would be so cool. Or if you want to like
Creepy.
throw back to Harry Potter, you can do like the dark mark. You don't know what I'm talking about because you didn't read past. Well, you read book. Did you read
like
book
4
4?
or 5? I can't remember anymore. I'm probably gonna have to
If
start
you read
over.
book 4,
Yes, I
you know
did.
about the dark mark.
Because Prisoner of Azkaban is what book?
3,
I read the one after that. for sure.
which is the 4th one. You're
Yes.
good. The Tri-Wizard Tournament.
Oh yes.
Okay, so little bats have little bodies, and then their wings are kind of like. Eh. They have that like point. But of course bats fly, and they fly at different angles, and so they wouldn't all be flat, like perfect bat silhouettes, the same thing as when we've talked about like with birds.
Have you ever had a bat in your house?
Yes, I have.
It's mildly terrifying.
I had to swish it out with we used like a broom and a pillowcase, just being like, go to the window, go out the door. And I'm going to have it cross this, so I'm going to have some that are on the moon. I'm going to have some that are outside of the moon. Kind of break up that line. If you want to have some coming out of the tree over here. And people will get the gist that they're bats. You guys don't have to go crazy with detail, okay? Just don't overthink it. Is that just a black dot, pretty much? Yeah. Is people going to be like, oh, it's a bat? Yeah, that's exactly what they're going to do, because our brain jumps to conclusions for us, which is helpful. Okay, and then I'm going to go in and just finish some branches on the tree. Ooh, my moon is still wet, so I'm going to avoid my wet parts on the moon. Okay. And then when our yellow dries, we'll do our little window framings, and that's it. So we just got to let it dry for a minute. So I'm just going to use my round 2 for just what are these called? Window frames?
Yep.
You can make them different. Maybe you do like broken windows or something, I don't know.
That'd be cool. Or like a jail cell window for one of them.
Ooh.
Someone's locked in there.
Ooh, I'm going to, oh dang, I wish I didn't do the tallest one, because wouldn't that be the creepiest one?
Yes.
Like the attic, there's like bars.
Sketchy bars.
Yeah. All right, that's it. Good job, team. Woo woo! Can't wait to see what you paint. Have fun with this. Hang it up for the holiday, or don't. I don't know.
Gift it.
Gift it. Maybe paint like 50 of these, hand them out to trick-or-treaters.
Yes.
How pissed would a kid be though?
You don't
Like
get candy, but you
trick-or-treat.
get this.
It's like this mini painting, and you're like.
I'd egg someone's house if I got a painting.
I've never egged someone's house. Have you egged
I
someone's
haven't
house?
either. Yeah.
I
I'm
don't
not
know if
actually
I
that
believe
mean.
you.
No, I haven't.
Have you TP'd someone's house?
I don't know if I should answer that.
I've TP'd someone's house.
Yes, I have TP'd houses.
Are you just waiting to see if I've done it? Okay, so if you're painting this, share it, especially if you've, made it different, made it your own. We want to see your versions. You guys are so creative and great. You can tag us on Instagram, Let's Go Make Art, hashtag Let's Make Art. We have a Facebook business page, and we also have a Facebook group that's meant just for watercolor and just for sharing your work. That's called Let's Make Art Watercolor. It is very large now.
Yeah.
It's like over 30,000 people, so
Yeah.
just take a peek. See if it's for you. I don't know.
It is.
It is.
You're welcome.
If you want your Facebook feed to be overwhelmed with watercolor paintings, it definitely is the Facebook group for you.
100%.
Okay, now I'm just rambling.
Yes.
I need to move on. You guys are great. That's it. Bye.